Alright, let's look at multiplying and dividing fractions. Okay, here we want to multiply fractions. So in order to multiply fractions, you just multiply the numerators together and multiply the denominators together. You don't have to have a common denominator. So here we would have 3 times 1 is 3 over 4 times 2 is 8. Now, notice we have a negative times a positive, and a negative times a positive is a negative. And let's look at the next one. We have 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 3 is 15. And we have a negative times a negative, which is a positive. So our final answer is 4 over 15. Alright, and then the third one, we have 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9 over 4 times 8 is 32. And there's our final answer. Alright. Now let's look at this one. We have 15 over 28 times negative 6 over 5. Now, before we multiply, let's reduce some things first. Notice here we have 15 in the numerator, and down here we have a 5 in the denominator. Well, these two can cancel. Okay, whatever's on top, you can cancel with what's on bottom. So 5 and 15 will cancel. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 15 3 times. Then 6 and 28 have a common factor, which is 2. So 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 28 14 times. So now that we've canceled, we can do 3 times 3 is 9 over 14 times 1 is 14. And we have a positive times a negative, which is a negative. So there's our final answer, negative 9 over 14. Now let's look at number 2. We have a negative 11 over 18 times negative 9 over 20. So let's see if we have anything that will cancel. Well, 9 and 18 have common factors, so 9 goes into 9 one time, 9 goes into 18 two times. And then there's no other common factors in the numerator and the denominator, so we have 11 times 1 is 11, 2 times 20 is 40. We have a negative times a negative is a positive. So there's our final answer. Alright, let's take a look at this one. Let's multiply negative 10 times 2 over 5. Now, what would make it easy is if we took the negative 10 and we wrote it over 1. Make it look like a fraction also. So now we're getting ready to multiply, and we notice that 5 and 10 have common factors. So 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 10 twice. So now let's multiply. We have 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. We have a negative times a positive, which is negative. So our final answer would be just negative 4. Alright, let's take a look at number 2. M over 6 times 9 over m squared. Alright, so let's cancel what we can. So 3 goes into 6 and 9 evenly. So these cancel. 3 goes into 6 twice. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Now we have m and m squared. Here an m cancels, so we would be left with 1, and m. So we multiply numerators. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times m is 2m. Alright, now let's look at dividing. Well, if you understand how to multiply, dividing's going to be easy. What we do is we take the division problem and we rewrite it as a multiplication. So we have negative 3/4, and we change division to multiplication times the reciprocal of 5/8, and the reciprocal of 5/8 is 8 over 5. We just flip the fraction, and then we multiply like we just got finished doing. Okay, well, 4 goes into 4 and 8 evenly, so here we're left with 1, here we're left with a 2. So we have 3 times 2 is 6, 1 times 5 is 5. We have a negative times a positive is a negative, and so here's our answer. Alright, let's take a look at number 2. Remember, before, we're going to write this over 1 like we did earlier when we were multiplying. So let's change this to a multiplication problem. So we have 5 over 6 times the reciprocal of 10 over 1, which is 1/10. Now 5 and 10 have a common factor. 5 goes into 5 one time, 5 goes into 10 2 times. So we have 1 times 1 is 1, 6 times 2 is 12. Now let's look at number 3. We have 20 over 7h, change division to multiplication, times the reciprocal of 5h over 7, which would be 7 over 5h. Now, let's cancel. 7 goes into 7 one time, 7 goes into 7 one time, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 20 4 times. So now we multiply. We have 4 times 1 is 4 over h times h is h squared. And there's our final answer. And that's all of multiplying and dividing fractions.